Welcome to the talk show Promising Bangladesh, sponsored by Crown Cement. Today our points of discussions are Chief Election Commission Habibullah Awal's sayings about American ambassadors, and then the contemporary issues centering election to the 12th Parliament. And to suit the very purposes, we have got very special guests. One is Mr. Touhid Hossain, former Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sinha.
Other being Ambassador Munshi Faiz. He was an ambassador to China, to many countries, and he's also a vocal political analyst. How are you, Mr. Faiz?
Thank you. Fine. How are you?
Fine. Well, Mr. Touhid Hossain, you know very well the American ambassador met with our Chief Election Commission Habibullah Awal a few days ago before his departure for Sri Lanka. And he had wide range of talks. We don't know what happened there. But suddenly, Chief Election Commissioner opened his mouth saying that America wants to command the Election Commission, Bangladesh. And about his saying, how to interpret this as an ambassador, as a foreign secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. Actually, the U.S. position has been very clear for quite some time. U.S. has consistently said that they want to see a free and fair election in Bangladesh, and participatory, the term was also used. Well, you can interpret the term as per your convenience, that is a different thing, but then there is a general understanding of what participatory means. In my opinion, any election in Bangladesh, in the present political context, to be considered to be participatory, Awami League and BNP have to participate in it. Then you can say that it's a participatory election. There could be 50 other parties, they hardly matter. And that way I think what the US is saying and what the Chief Election Commission is saying, it's almost the same. Their purpose is to give a free, fair and good election, and they wanted the same thing. The sentence that he mentioned about that they can influence or press upon Bangladesh many things which he cannot do in the US. Do we need to do it in the US in any context? Why the US is doing this? Definitely, US is doing it on its own, for its own interest, and they think that it is better for them to conduct bilateral relations if there is a government that comes up because of a proper election, rather than one-sided or manipulated elections. That's why they are doing this. They are doing this not for us, but the thing is that, we by and large, we also want a free and fair election. So that coincides with the ideas of both sides, and that's how it has come up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Touhid. Mr. Munshi Faiz, what is your interpretation?
Well, what the Chief Election Commissioner said comes across to us in different ways from different media or different people. But one of the things that I remember he had said was that the Americans, the US, they try to command us, or they come and command us, we cannot command them. And then he said, he said this with a bit of an exasperation, that he wasn't very happy about it. But then, as Touhid just mentioned, that he, in the next breath, he said, what the Americans want and what we want are the same things. So that is very important to notice first. But then I see it this way, that why did the Chief Election Commissioner have to say this? See, when he was talking to these people, first he said this, I was told that he was talking to the people who were there for training for the elections. And there he was trying to portray the mood of the situation right now. And when the Americans talk to us or talk to other countries which they consider as less powerful, they often use a kind of tone which might sound commanding, trying to suggest to us or tell us what to do, kind of a dictating. But they may not always mean that, or they don't always get what they want. But still, that is their style. We are able to deliver on the promise that we have made, promise that the Chief Election Commissioner has made to be able to conduct a free, fair and peaceful election. Those are the three words that the Americans have used many times, that our government and our CEC has used many times. The term participatory has also come up from time to time, and here there is a lot of, as Touhid indicated, it can be interpreted in different ways. How I see it, participatory means that anybody who wants to participate is free to participate and is able to participate without any hindrance and stop anybody from participating. The government wants everybody to participate, the CEC wants everybody to participate. A particular party or a particular political group, they do not want to participate, right? At least right now, they are not willing to participate, as they say, and they are free to do so. Even if they do not participate officially, legally, the election cannot be called as not participatory, so long as anybody who wants to participate is allowed to participate and is able to participate without any hindrance. Now, of course, what Touhid said is also very true, that the general perception in the public in Bangladesh is that if the two major parties, one of the two major parties do not participate, then it becomes, to that extent, the election becomes a bit less participatory. So therefore, the people generally hope that all will participate and the people will be able to make their pronouncements, make their judgments on the candidates on the basis of participation, general participation. However, I think we should not read too much into these statements from time to time. What is important is to see that all the stakeholders that are involved, the Chief Election the Chief Election Commissioner and the Commission itself, the government, the law enforcing authorities, the political parties, the candidates, the people in general, everybody has a role to play in a good election.
Thank you
and
very
they
much.
play their role appropriately within the law.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Touhid Hossain. And you know very well, there is a conference in Delhi where our Foreign Secretary went there and they had talks with the ambassadors there. And there are too many talks, criticisms in the media, in the print media, social media. But actually, being a Foreign Secretary, you know that there are few embassies in Bangladesh, in India, the mostly accredited. So it is very difficult to call all the ambassadors here. Rather, go there and talk to them. But this thing is not clear still to the people, even to the media. Please, you explain it.
Thank you. Actually, such thing has happened for the first time. That's why
First time, yeah.
People are thinking why this happened. But let me be very clear on one issue, that the Foreign Secretary, by definition, he reflects the opinion and will of the government. It is not, he is not a politician. It is not his job to say what he may feel, that is immaterial. What the government asks him to do, he will do that. I think that way what the Foreign Secretary has done is perfectly correct. That's what the government wanted him to do, and he did that. About the event itself, although it's not common, but technically there is nothing wrong in it, because we don't have many missions of the foreign countries in Bangladesh, whereas in Delhi you have, I think, about 150 or something like that embassies of different countries. It's very clear because India is a much more important, much more powerful country, so everyone has a mission there. And there are concurrent accreditations. Some of them even may not be concurrently accredited also. That's okay. So what the Foreign Secretary has done he has conveyed the message of the government in person to that group of people. There is nothing wrong in that. What you can think of is that what is the message he gave? What are the wordings he used? Or afterwards when he spoke to the praise. What did he say? Again, I would say that he conveyed the wish of the government. The decision of the government was conveyed there. So he, in my opinion, cannot be held responsible for anything that he might have said.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Faiz, do you think so?
Yes, I agree fully with Touhid, who was a foreign secretary himself, and when it comes from his mouth, it comes from the horse's mouth. So you cannot question that very much. And what is important is that this, the purpose of this visit was twofold, as far as I understand. It was not only just talking to the diplomatic part of the diplomatic corps who are represented from their country, who represent themselves, their countries in Bangladesh, but while staying in Delhi. So as you said, it is not easy to get all those people together here. It is much more convenient for one person to go and convey what the government wants to convey to them. What is being conveyed to the diplomatic corps in Dhaka is being also conveyed there to the concurrently accredited members of the diplomatic corps. So that is perfectly all right. But I think in the process also he met the Indian Foreign Secretary.
Mr. Touhid Hossain, it is in the air, also in the media also, that there is a line of disagreement between India and America on the issue of election in Bangladesh to the 12th Parliament. What the issue? Incumbent Foreign Secretary of India, he told the press, we want a stable government in Bangladesh. At the same time, America says we want election free, credible and participatory. And the ultimate goal is same. There must be election free from coercion, free from malpractices, at the same time credible and participatory. But what India says, that is very significant, is still emphasizing the role of Awami League. How do you analyze all these things?
Well, let us be very frank about one thing, is that any powerful country tries to influence the countries around, particularly in its own region, and by extension could be even distant countries also, as the US is trying to influence our decisions. India being the pivotal country of South Asian region, India does and will always try to influence events, decisions in Bangladesh. That is okay. And every country tries to promote its own interest. Very frankly, I always say this, that for India, an Awami League government in Dhaka is always they are more comfortable with. Okay? So they can want an Awami League government, yeah, which is okay. There is also the question of people often make a permutation combination of what they perceive as the immediate national interest and also the will of the people, etc., what the people actually want, or does it go in contradiction with what they are thinking. So these are certain issues, but there is one paramount fact, which is that for politicians, usually long-term comes late. First of all comes the immediate interest, and particularly the next general election, where there is, electoral process. So all these combined together make India-Bangladesh relation a very unique case. Now, there is clearly a disagreement between India and US about how to go about Bangladesh's election. I cannot decide what India will decide or do, but in my opinion, Indian definition of stability as far as Bangladesh is concerned should be slightly widened. Instead of putting all its egg in one basket and thinking that it's only Awami League government that they prefer, they can prefer that. That is okay, because it's, as I said, that they are more comfortable with and convenient. But they should be a little more open-minded. About the elections, they are fine saying that no interference from outside forces. It's an internal matter of Bangladesh. They are saying this now, but they did not say it in 2014. In 2014, there is ample evidence that they did interfere in the electoral process of Bangladesh. So these are words which actually are words of convenience to be used when it is convenient for you and to forget when it is not. And that is, I would say, in international politics, that is also normal. There is nothing unusual about that. They will look after their interests. We are supposed to look after our interests. We should look forward to a stability from our point of view, not from India's point of view.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Munshi Faiz, India and America, two giants, are playing to each other. And we are Bangladesh, like a sandwich. As an ambassador, you have been long time, you had been to China, and in different capacities, including your ambassador there. How do you explain the whole thing taking place, centering America and India, and say somebody is victorious, somebody is defeated? Is it so?
Let me first point out this, that this election that we are having right now is not the only thing that our friends, near neighbors and farther neighbors, distant neighbors are interested in. They are more interested in the wider issue of relationship in general and to some extent influence. Everybody wants influence. When we talk about geopolitics, the word politics is about power, influence, control. And so that is always there. If there is any politics involved, then there will be power, influence and control involved. So everybody wants to have some influence with the others. We also want influence with others. That's what we do. And one cannot say that we are not successful in pursuing our own interests and inculcating influence over our friends and all that. So that is there. And it is not accurate to say that India and USA are kind of playing against each other and we are being sandwiched between them. I don't think that is the case, because there are issues on which they see eye to eye. When it comes to, say, generally this very largely talked about issue of Indo-Pacific strategy, they are on the same boat. They are trying to get us with them, both of them together. But then India has some more localized interests in the neighborhood. Their security, their threats from various kinds of terrorist organization or various kinds of insurgency issues in their country, which may find some kind of protection in neighboring countries. So those are the issues. Those are some very important considerations of India. And so India wants to make sure that whoever is running the government in Bangladesh, right now it is Awami League, and Awami League has given them a lot of support in this on this issue, and that is why they feel comfortable with Bangladesh. But then there is another side to this thing. The American government or USA is represented here by an ambassador, and they have a special office in the American State Department which looks after this region, and those officials are always focused on this area, while America in general is focused on many other issues, and right now they have much bigger issues than Bangladesh's election. But this office and this embassy, they are focused on Bangladesh, and they try to show their agility, their abilities, and sometimes they do things that does not necessarily help the country where they represent, the United States. They have created problems throughout the world. Since the start of the Korean War, they have got involved in many wars, and except one or two cases, they have miserably failed in all those wars. But it doesn't matter to them, because of those wars and disturbances or whatever you call it, they can sell weapons, and the people who make the weapons, the military industrial complex, and the people who sell valuable items like fuel, oil, gas, and also maybe sometimes food, fertilizer, which is important for other countries, and they hold on to it and they can sell it at higher price when there is war and disturbance. So those are the people who benefit from these disturbances. So they have to create some disturbances in different places so that they can serve the interest of these corporate groups. Otherwise, I think, like then we talk about democracy, or what do the Americans want to see here, but they don't see the world by the same measure, same standards everywhere. They think that in Bangladesh right now is in a kind of difficulty with this election and the question of democracy, etc. And so this is one area where we can pinch Bangladesh to get some benefit out of it. So that is what they are trying, perhaps. But in other countries, other countries which are allied to them, like Egypt or Saudi Arabia or many other countries throughout the world, they don't bother about democracy or human rights. And just one example which is very glaring right now, the Israeli war in Gaza. I mean, they have been supporting Israeli human rights violation throughout. It's not today. It's been a long time. Even agreements that they negotiated, they helped negotiate, that also they don't care if Israel doesn't carry that out. Then there are so many UN resolutions which everybody is party to, and those have not been carried out by Israel, and nobody holds Israel responsible for it, because Americans and America's allies, they are behind them and they are supporting everything that Israel does without any
Thank you very much,
failure.
Ambassador Faiz.
Thank you.
Ambassador Touhid Hossain, what Ambassador Faiz says, he categorically mentioned the democracy of Bangladesh at the same standard of democracy to America. So if we feel that Bangladesh is the only country in the world that is crying for democracy and America is standing by it, it is not so. America has its own standards and values, and its approach to Bangladesh is something different from other countries. Do you think it is ethical from the standpoint of Bangladesh?
Thank you. Let's start with the last word that you used.
Ethical.
In international politics, there is nothing called ethical or anything. I would agree to almost everything that Ambassador Munshi Faiz said, but then I would put in my different interpretation of it. You see, it's not about democracy. It's not about human rights. If you forget about those things, these concepts are always and by every powerful country used selectively. You have to accept it. You have to accept it. If you are strong enough not to accept it, you go ahead, that's fine. But when it's a country like the US and a country like Bangladesh, you simply have to accept what they are, whether they are pursuing it in other countries or not, that is absolutely immaterial. What they want is it okay for you or not? That is what it is. In my opinion, their approach here coincides largely with the general opinion of the public, that there should be an election in which all participate. Again, I'm not going, Munshi Faiz had given a very theoretical basis that someone who doesn't want to participate, it's okay. That doesn't mean that it's not participatory. The thing is that it is not that black and white. There is a lot of gray areas in it, and as I said, that why they are not participating, it's a whole complete big set of arguments and issues. It's not that they are just because they don't like, so they are not participating. Participation has to be meaningful, and by and large, the government or the CEC or the Election Commission as a whole has not been able to create an atmosphere in which every party, big ones particularly, will feel that their participation can be meaningful. So that is there. What we must understand is that geopolitics is a very important thing for all. So it's the question of certain issues in
I will
which...
come to you, geopolitics, different chapter. Mr. Faiz and Mr. Touhid Hossain, we are having talks about the geopolitics. And geopolitics, Bangladesh is now at this moment, it's a critical stage of geopolitics. What is America says, what is China says, Russia says, India says. Many concepts, many ideas are cropping up each and every moment. As a foreign secretary, you are a veteran diplomat. Former foreign secretary, veteran diplomat. I believe foreign secretary never dies. He is a foreign secretary, whether former or not former, immaterial it is. Thing is that America assured the people in general there will be election free, fair, credible, but election is going to take place in such a manner which is very much detrimental to the hopes and aspirations of the people. And the America played it from the very beginning in favor of the people. If election takes place in its own mood and mode, then what is the reaction of America at the final stage?
I don't remember that the US said that to the people of Bangladesh that elections will be held free, fair, etc. They have made their position clear to the government and the Chief Election Commissioner that they want to see a free, fair and credible election, which will also be participatory. So that is their position, the position that they have conveyed to our people. Now, to our government mostly. Now, how we will do it is to be seen. Now, the thing is that it appears that it is not going the way that the US had wanted. Let us be very frank. It's not going the way that the US has wanted. And they have, on a number of occasions, tried to put pressure on the government, even pronouncing certain decisions of their government, which is clearly an indication of those pressure, certain these sanctions, etc. And some sanctions have been imposed, and some sanctions there are threats of being imposed. Actually, what I'm personally worried about is that it is generally agreed that if the US and its allies want, they can do harm to us. So, in my opinion, it is advisable for a country like Bangladesh to be in some sort of sync, to be in dialogue, so that there can be a convergence of opinion rather than the two ways that the government and the USA is going. And because we must remember that we have vital interests in the United States, and we have seen that when US takes a position, it usually gets the support of Europe, sometimes also Japan and Australia. And if that all happens and in some way, some harmful decision that would affect Bangladesh is taken, we will have serious difficulties. So we have to take into consideration into that. About geopolitics that we were saying, normally there should be a convergence between the US and India, because the intention of both these countries is to contain China in the affairs, particularly in the Indo-Pacific. But there are also certain aspects of India's perceived interests. Of late, I would say that because Bangladesh has become more important and because the geopolitical game in the Indo-Pacific has become more pronounced, that's why it is now the decision of the US to deal in many ways directly with Bangladesh than going through India as it used to do before. And in that context, the US feels comfortable, it seems, with a government that has come up in a free, fair election, which generally it is believed that there was no such elections in 2014 and 18. So there should be an election which is not like those two. And not like those two means not only in the change in technique, but the change in real materials. So that's what it is wanting. And what is going to happen? Most probably this ball has been set rolling for the elections, and perhaps the government has certain techniques, new techniques I know. Perhaps the elections will be conducted by the government on the 7th of January. My worry is that things will not end there. I don't think the US will say, okay, what has happened, let us forget about all this. This may not be the case. This may not be the case because its interest remains paramount, and those may not always be in sync with what the Indian interest is. And in that case, if they decide to do or take certain measures which will put Bangladesh into difficulty, particularly in view of the very serious economic difficulties that we are in at this moment, the general people I am saying about this, the upper class, they are okay, I know that, but the fact is that the limited income people are in real trouble making two ends meet. And in this situation, if something more harmful come up because of the unhappiness or dissatisfaction of the West in general and the US in particular, I think we will have serious difficulties with that.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Faiz.
Well,
if something unexpected take place in the coming days, do you foresee it?
See, when you mention something unexpected taking place, you don't foresee it. See, that's the problem. You can't foresee something unexpected. So that's
what is your forecast?
What I think is that, yes, there have been all kinds of bickerings here and there, but in the end, I think the government has also decided, and the ball is rolling, as Touhid just said, towards an election on 7th of January. And I hope that this will happen. It's good, it would be much better if also BNP joined, but then if it doesn't join, then it will make the election less successful to that extent. But it is also going to harm the country, the parties that do not participate in the election, because they have not been participating in the elections appropriately for the last 15 years. And if they don't, their supporters will be frustrated. They have nothing to do then. So that is, I think, something that they must keep in mind as well. So it's not going to be a one-sided affair.
But I draw your attention to the letter written by Donald Lu to all the three political parties, and categorically say there must be dialogue without any precondition. But well, till the date, no attempts are visible.
No. You have to look at it more realistically. Number one, that letter was sent at a time when things were already pretty late. So it was kind of an afterthought that we said so many things in different places. There is nothing written anywhere, so let us put things down in black and white and present it to them. And they presented it to three parties. And that's why this letter is a little different from what they have done, they have said earlier. So, but then participatory, this word leaves itself to, or lends itself to interpretation. And the interpretation, we already, Touhid and I tried to interpret in our ways, and the interpretations did not conquer. So that is also very natural, that the interpretations will differ on because of what you want to see or how you see things. So that is immaterial. I think that yes, there will be I mean, if nothing untoward happens or external forces do not interfere, then the elections will take place. And I believe that the current government and the Election Commission will make 100% efforts to make sure that the elections are more credible than the previous two elections. That they will definitely try. Whether they will be successful or not, we'll have to see when it happens. If they are successful, then this worry that certain countries might want to interfere after the elections because they are not happy, that worry might lessen to that extent. And I believe that in the end, because it is good for all the countries to continue to cooperate instead of going away from each other. Nobody really, neither the Americans would like to see us go away from them, nor we would like to see that our relations with the US is soured to such extent that our business with USA is disturbed. So that is something that we do not, definitely we do not want that to happen, and I am sure the Americans also do not want to happen, but they are trying to put pressure on us to, so that we can do things more in their way, more as they want to see us. Like as we mentioned, that they don't see things in the same way, by the same standards in different countries. There was this election that was taken away from the Egyptian people, but then they supported the people who took away the elections. So it happens, you see. So it doesn't matter. The important thing is, as long as the interest of the countries remain together, we should not worry too much. But then we have to continue to be able to play deftly. The government has so far done very well in pursuing the policy of friendship with all, malice to none, very successfully, and that is why we have such good relations with all our development partners. Having said that, you must also remember the caveat that from time to time we do have issues, irritants in relations between our with our friends. That will always be there.
Thank you. Mr. Touhid Hossain, concluding remarks.
I wish I could be as optimistic as my friend Ambassador Munshi Faiz is. Unfortunately, I am not so optimistic. I am not so optimistic because in 2018, the now opposition, well, I consider the BNP as the opposition, not these smaller parties, had finally decided to participate in the election. The result was not good. That did not give credibility to the election. And I don't think that, as Mr. Faiz has said, that by not participating in the election, BNP is going to harm itself. As I mentioned at the beginning, that there has to be a possibility of gain in any election, any participation, that whether I gain anything. In 2018, it was more or less proved that by participating in election, they gained nothing. 6 seats in the House of 300, and you know how the election was conducted. So I think the credibility was lost. Credibility of the election process was lost in 2018, and there has not been much improvement or much action taken which would bring credibility to this election on 7 January. It is clear that the BNP will not and cannot participate. The situation does not permit BNP to participate, harms or not, that is a secondary issue. And as I already mentioned, that I don't think that the days after the elections will be smooth for Bangladesh, and I really am very apprehensive about that. Thank you.
Smooth?
It will not be smooth.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador Touhid Hossain and Ambassador Munshi Faiz. And both of you talk very well. And viewers, we are about to end this talk show. And before ending this talk show, I have to summarize what the guests by this explained about the recent situation, including America and India. Both of them are very much high about the politics of Bangladesh. In this sense, they believe in the politics of mutual understanding, politics of going together. But unfortunately, the political landscape in Bangladesh is not so. Even the America, when they sent a letter to the political parties, they sent only 3 political parties. And what they did at the back end of the whole thing, had they did it before 6 months, 11 months, this letter could have different meaning. Now it is almost dead, and it has no effect at all on the opposition. And taking all this into account, Ambassador Touhid believes the coming days are not so smooth, because if there is no participatory election, which he explained, participatory means in Bangladesh context, BNP Awami League joining election together. In Bangladesh context, and academically so many things you may talk. Reality is that this is Bangladesh. Here election to the 12th parliament means whether BNP Awami League are in the scene. If they are not in the scene, that election may not be the participatory in the true sense of reality. And Ambassador Faiz believes participatory means academically, yes, he is right from his own standpoint. But come to the reality, election means election with BNP Awami League Jatiyo Party. If it is not so, there are so many small parties. I say King's Party. All are bogus. They don't have any significance, any importance. Therefore, we also believe that the coming election, still there is a time. Election Commission asserting again and again, if BNP comes to election, we will reschedule this time. but that is also not the reality. Reality is that whether there is a space for BNP or not. If the space is not here, definitely we are moving towards a landscape which is not be so good for us. And thank you very much.